a white tree. It's going to look dirty after a while. So then we got a regular green fake tree, and then the next year we got a flocked green fake tree, and then we got cats. So then we got a pencil tree, like a pencil fake tree, and that one's great. It's less for the cats to jump on, and I think we're actually just good with the pencil tree this year. So that's our news.
It's going down a slippery slope, man.
I know. Listen, at some point we're gonna have so many of these things, or not?
My brother and a good amount of his partner are just really into the whole season from Halloween through June. I don't know, like where they hang up Halloween decorated trees, which they have their own suite of. Like I think around 15 trees of sorts of various sizes.
Yeah.
And then those stay up. Then some of the colors and decorations change for Christmas, and then they just kind of hang around until around June. And then they take them down for the summer, I guess. I don't know, but it's really cool. So I totally get the appeal of it. Seems like a lot of maintenance to me, and that scares me. To be honest, you're into it. That's what I got.
Yeah.
That's all right.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Oh no, we're echoing horribly. Let's see. How do we fix that?
I have this thing muted.
Yeah, me too.
Same here, but apparently we're still echoey.
Huh.
Let's see. Well, says Chris. I'm gonna check out my stream over here. Hello. It says Elliot. Darn it. Well, here I could turn off this just in case. No, that wouldn't work. Everybody but Cassidy. Well, I apologize for the echoes. Just more of us to love, I guess. And Cassidy, you're allowed to, I guess, talk because you're not echoing, apparently.
Okay.
Just out of luck.
Pat, cool. Do you have the stream muted?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me see. I do. Oh. I think I got it. I think I got it. My apologies to everyone. Okay. Try that. Give me a thumbs up or something if this is better.
Am I echo?
Yes.
We're better?
We did it. We fixed it. So I had to switch. I had to download OBS again and all the streaming stuff to another computer that I don't use very often. So at bare minimum, we have things functioning. I'm going to be dragging and dropping some windows around during this presentation, but for the most part, I think we're streaming. Thank you for letting us know about the echoes. Hopefully this is all better now. So yeah, please call out anything else that's you're having an issue with, other than my face. Don't talk about that. And might as well get started. Let's see. I'll do it. I'll do the quick one. Thanks for coming. This is Make Talk Play, which is held by the Pioneer Valley Game Developers, which is a casual group or an informal group of game developers in the Pioneer Valley of Western Massachusetts and extended elsewhere as we can. We like to reach out to our friends and families across the nation and the world at times, and help encourage game development throughout all of the internet and the world, and real in-person time sometimes when we can. This event is called Make Talk Play, where we hang out and talk to game developers doing some cool stuff in our circles. And today we have a special guest, a friend and colleague that I work with at Pen Game Studios now, and formerly at Hit Point Studios. We have Cassidy Kammerer. So I want to say thanks for joining.
Thank you.
And we also have Aaron Cooper. Thanks for joining as well.
Thanks for keeping this community together, Pat.
Oh, I've been doing bare minimum lately, but I appreciate it. Thank you for keeping it going as well, and everyone else who does keep it going to help out, because it's a fun community. I'm going to pass this over to Aaron. Aaron, do you want to give any intros?
I will say I am very excited for this talk in particular because so we've been trying a few new things with the Make Talk plays as of recently. Last time we tried something that was more play than our normal, which was nice. It was a nice change of pace. And before that, we had Ichiro talk about some more businessy stuff. And I think having Cassidy on here goes along with that same line of thinking where there's lots of stuff in terms of game dev that we need to learn as game devs, no matter what part of the field that you're in. But the important part in terms of when you actually start getting past just doing things by yourself and working with an actual team is getting tools and, more importantly than that, documentation that people can actually read as an important part of the process. And that is something that Cassidy is an expert at, and we're very excited to have her here. I will also, while I am warming up everybody, if anybody else has any announcements that they'd like to make, if they want to put that in the chat, and we can make those announcements to the crowd as we go along. But other than that, thank you so much for being here. And Cassidy, is there anything that you want to say before we get into stuff?
Yes, I am very good at documentation, and I'm very not good at public speaking. So just throwing that out there.
We're all understanding. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. My contribution to the intro to you, Cassidy, as well, is I am very excited to kind of get an inside peek into your brain and process too, outside of our correspondence. So for myself, I only recently started working with Cassidy, even though we were working previously for a while. We were both on different projects, and I kept hearing great things about your organizational skills and just how much you contribute in a number of ways from design, which has always been kind of a struggle in terms of the processes we use at Hit Point Studios, how to work with designers. So when we have started working together, I just noticed right away, like, the things that you do, the tool sets that you have this like an amazing array of tools to communicate what you're trying to get across and your approach to design that I had not seen before and really have grown to appreciate. And that's why I wanted to definitely hear from you for this talk. And yeah, so that's it. Just that's my intro, and I'm really excited to get an insight to your brain. So,
well, shucks.
Appreciate you doing this.
I suppose I should start.
So, let's see. Looking over. Nope, no announcements. So, yeah, without further ado, then let's get started. If there are any announcements, I'll just say we'll hold them till the end at this point. And we'll also be doing questions, Q&A after this if you're available, Cassidy.
Of course.
All right. Then in that case, take it away. I'm going to probably adjust the windows in the background.
I'm dead, Cassidy.
Oh boy. I see my screen. That's very good. All right. Do you want me to wait until you have that all set up, or should I just get started?
I am going to try to, stop it. I guess go ahead and get started. I will adjust as needed.
Okay. All right. Well, hello. I'm Cassidy Kammerer, as you heard. I have a master's degree in game production from Florida Interactive Entertainment Academy. I've worked at EA, and I also worked, as Pat mentioned, at Hit Point and stayed as we became Pen Game Studios. I like to think that I'm creative, or at least I would hope so. And the things that I've done when I've been inspired are things I'm really proud of. That said, I've learned that there are places inspiration cannot take me, such as through subjects I am unenthused about, because it is a fickle beast. It cannot take me to like the most player-friendly scope cuts because it usually works against me. And it can't take me to a finished game because I need a team, which is where process comes in. And it's also where thorough documentation comes in. So this talk is called the Designer's Toolkit. And as I was creating it, I decided that in addition to the tools I use, I will also focus on the process that gives them context. I'm going to walk through some of the steps I take to drive a project or task, and I'll stop along the way to focus on tools I enjoy using. So this is what I do for any design problem, whether it's a new game, a new mechanic, or just a question about the camera movement. It really applies to all levels. And this process tends to double back on itself and loop a lot. I would consider it more of a guideline than a recipe. So I think you all already know step one. Panic! This might be a little out of order. Maybe you panic before the meeting, or maybe you panic after starting your research. But I am sure I can guarantee that you panic. Note that step one is to panic. It is not to not panic. It is not to keep calm and carry on. You can't ignore the feeling because it's a mental check engine light. There are things you can do immediately to function, such as schedule a worry appointment so you have a dedicated time to panic. You can identify your most immediate task and work on that to take your mind off of it. And you can trust the process, because even if you don't know what to do at that moment, if you stick with your process, something will come up, even if it's not perfect. You know, perfect is the enemy of good. That said, I have this subtitle here, Getting into a Productive Mindset, but a productive mindset is a healthy mindset. So I wanted to start with some tools I use to stay active and on top of my mental health. Here's a couple. Mental health checklists. These are two emotions I'm sure every designer has experienced at one point, anxiety and depression. I like these because they provide a structure to process strong feelings as they are being experienced. Another useful thing about these is that they help you identify patterns. So if you have something that frequently causes a certain emotion, you can adjust your lifestyle to remove it, which will make you a better worker in the long run. I also use an undated planner. Having a physical planner is great because it gets your eyes off the screen, which is great for your eyes, it's great for your posture, and it's great for your mind because you unplug from the thing that's stressing you out and you get a little breathing room to look at it objectively. An undated planner specifically accommodates sporadic use. And if you're anything like me, you will not use a planner consistently. It's flexible and lets you use it when things are getting a little crazy. So you guys might have noticed here, I have this little blue bar. That's grindstone, and I love it. I love it because it sits on top of my windows and it doesn't really get in the way. It is pretty unobtrusive, and it always reminds me of the fact that I need to be tracking my time. If you look, you can see I'm not very good at using it consistently, but I do try to, and it's something I've been trying to work into my habits. Some other things I like to use that I've actually fairly recently discovered are Flow Dashboard and Cairo. And I'm going to, if I can just, it's get a little weird. Can you guys see my browser now? Let me look at the, whoops. Cool, I see it. Alrighty. 1 second. Oh, gosh darn it. There we go. This is Flow Dashboard. You can use it for task tracking. I don't really usually. You can also track time on it by toggling on it. There's projects. There's a lot of different things it can do, but some of my favorites are the goals, because it keeps things in one place and you can do it monthly and yearly. And the habits. Now, why am I talking about habits? This is a design talk. Habits are keystones, which affect all aspects of our life. So, for instance, if you don't drink enough water, your brain doesn't work. So on that note, I'm going to take a drink of water real quick. I also like Cairo. It can do a lot of the same things that Grindstone and Dashboard can, like time blocks, habit trackers, and timers. But that's not what I like about it, really. I like progress blocks, which take a date and then also take different variables and allow you to take them up by intervals as time progresses. And what this does is show the consequences of your actions, good or bad. For the record, I did clean more recently than this. I just haven't updated it. All right, getting back to my PowerPoint. All right, so those are some of my mental health tools. Aside from panic, step 1 for me is communicate. Always, always, always. I like to try and acknowledge how little I know. So step 1 is always to go to someone who knows more or who might know more. And a big benefit of this is I often find some work has already been done, or some work can easily be adapted from something else that was already done. Also, subject matters will solve problems before you think of them, which is very helpful. And when I consult the people who will be wireframing or implementing, not only do I know that they have a personal understanding of what we're talking about at that point, any suggestions they make are also things that they know they could do, which is useful. Obviously, there's no special tools for that, just whatever chat client you use. I myself reached out to my peer group to help with this very talk. It didn't start out great, and it didn't get a lot better. But I was reminded of this, which was pretty nice. And, of course, Pat came in clutch. I think that the people around you are some of your most important supports, whether they're bringing levity to a problem or solutions. Next step in this child's drawing is a brain dump / research loop. It's when you're assembling the content you need to granularize the end product, make decisions, answer unknowns, and identify next steps. By brain dump, I'm referring to taking things out of your head and putting them somewhere else. You have 3 forms of storage in your life: digital, physical, and mental. And mental is the faultiest. A brain dump isn't the same as documentation because it's for my use only, which might eventually become someone else's use as well. But the intention is to help me sort information. When you don't know what your end product is, as in you have a very vague assignment or you're at the very beginning of a project, this helps identify the parameters. And when you do know, when you have a clear deliverable, this helps you break it down into parts. I think researching into competitor products gives you something to design from. It gives you an idea of player expectations and ways to surpass that. I don't think it should be looked down on for lack of originality, because a game's success is 10% concept and 90% execution, as one of my grad school professors repeatedly told me. Some tools I use for the brain dump in particular are a journal. I've already talked about the screen break. It's also a time capsule. I've also often found remembered old ideas while going through journals. I've found new ideas based off of looking at old ideas and thinking about problems I'm currently having. And I've also just had good memories. Speaking of memories, writing something down is a memory encoder, and it just can't hurt. If you have something you really need to remember, you should put it somewhere that you frequently check, which for me is not my journal. But it's always good to have, to diversify. This is a picture of some of the journals I've finished over the last roughly 3.5 years. As you can see, they're pretty well worn. Other things I like are Airtable, which is a great way to handle some complicated data, and then Draw.io, which is great for mockups and stuff. Now, I'm going to show you those two things, if it will cooperate with me. And it will. Here's my example Airtable. The case I most often find myself using Airtable for is competitor comparisons, because a game has so many different things. There's features, there's UI treatments, and it can be hard to keep it all straight. What I like about Airtable is that I can enter all of this once, and then I can view it in 100 different ways. If I want to show connections between different kinds of data, I can. So I have these two tabs here, and I have some fake data in here. Blockbuster McGee, I can see, is made by Umbrella Game Company A, and that link is mutual. There's a lot of other things you can do with that connection. There's like lookups. I can look up the company size of the developer of a game on this table as well, but I'm not going to get into that. There's also very good documentation for Airtable. And another thing, say I'm only looking for games that have procedural gen, because that's what I'm focused on right now. I'm not documenting anything else. I can filter that, and I didn't have to add anything to a spreadsheet. I didn't have to make a new tab. I just did this. Or maybe I want to group by developer, because I want to see what the developers have in common with the games that they've made. I can also look at all this data without entering it again. I can look at it in so many different ways. I can get it on a calendar. I can make a form so that people can add things to this without breaking it. I can look and scan by icon. And there's even a Kanban, which is especially great for task tracking, but that is not related to design. All right, and then Draw.io. There are a lot of tools like this. I kind of like Visio better in a lot of ways because of it's just a better UX, but Draw.io is free. It is well integrated. It integrates with Google, and it integrates directly with Confluence, which is nice. You can use it for flowcharts, as I have here. This is the flow I'm walking you guys through right now. You can also use it for mockups, although I do tend to use Google Sheets or PowerPoint for that more often because it's pretty simple, the UI, I mean. All right, moving on. Okay. Once you've dumped your brain enough times, you're probably ready to make your outline. where you're breaking the end product into parts and identifying a structure of documentation that effectively conveys those parts. It is 100% okay for it to change. Just having the structure at all is the important part because it's going to drive your conversations moving forward. I'm going to show you guys a little example outline I made. I just kind of pulled an example out of my butt. A gravity gun. I like to start with a scannable list because if someone's pulling this up and they have one specific piece of information they want to find, I want to make that real easy. So if an engineer just needs to know what the reload speed is supposed to be, they can find it. Sometimes things like the ammo capacity or weight needs to be in a certain document that is used by the game. In which case, something I really like about Confluence is that you can embed items. This has nothing really to do with the talk, but I just wanted to show that you can embed an Excel file that's hosted on OneDrive into a Confluence page. Google Sheets and other Google services have native embedding functions. And this is great because you can have something displayed multiple places, but you only need to update it in one place. So next up, of course, is to take the feature itself and break it into parts that require more elaboration. So just with this quick and dirty example, you would want to know about the handling of the gun. How do you aim it? What's the reticle look like? What is it like to fire it? The effect of the gun. And you'll notice the effect probably as a final document would be way more fleshed out with more subsections than this. But this is sufficient for a first pass because there's a lot more conversation that would need to happen about the effect. As I said, okay for it to change. Next up, meat. I consider agenda items as a first pass at documentation in some ways. I'm going to go ahead, and once again, we're moving away from the PowerPoint. I'm going to show you an example of an agenda. I adapted this from a Confluence template for a meeting agenda. And the things that I changed were mostly this part. This is the meat of it. I like to list the duration of a topic because it helps me figure out how many topics I can cover, as well as prioritize by listing cutoff times so that if I decide, hey, it's 3:35, we can't cover this right now, we can skip it and maybe come back if we do end up having time, and it keeps things moving. A good agenda item, and as I said, I do consider this sort of a first pass at documentation. It has a call to action or a question that can be answered with a decision or an action item. It should have details to help drive the conversation. And I'm not always in charge of priorities, but if I am, it is great to include priorities in the agenda item. I like to keep notes near the topic rather than in a separate section because it helps keep them connected. And these two beauties here are a decision item and an action item, which I adore because they get rolled up into these things called decision reports and task reports, which I include down here in the meeting summary. Another wonderful thing about this is that it makes it very clear what the outcomes of the meeting are. And that's something I think is critical, especially for a design meeting, because, for instance, using my very silly example, pizza is very delicious, but the delivery fees are a waste of money. And homemade casserole is pretty tasty and cheap, but it takes a long time. Based on this, people could come out of the meeting thinking either one of these was the decision, to get pizza or to make casserole. So specifying that the casserole is the decision point is critical because otherwise you don't know that everyone's on the same page. And note that I reserve time at the end to review the meeting outcomes to really make sure, like, hey, this is what we all agree on. Capiche? All right, skipping ahead. I feel like I'm kind of flying through this on accident. Last step, write your spec. You would think this would probably come a little sooner, but it doesn't. You want to document the outcomes of meetings and the research you've done using the outline that you've generated. You're probably locked into whatever your team is using for documentation, but if there's any room for consideration, I do recommend Confluence. It's free, and I really appreciate the decision and action items as well as the ability to embed things into the pages. It makes it easy to keep things all together. It has its drawbacks, but everything does. In terms of what makes good spec, I think this is different for everyone. But to make the best documentation that you can make, you just need some razor statements. These are my 3. Sentences are the enemy. Nobody wants to read. Don't document it the same thing twice, by which I mean don't document it in 2 places, which actually happens way more than I want it to anyway, which is my own fault. And then 3 is a little silly, but make it pretty because people are more likely to read it if it doesn't make their eyes hurt. The next step is to repeat. Everything I just said could be wrong, depending on the team and the individual. So you should, maybe your outline comes before your research and brain dump process. Maybe it is unthinkable for you to go into a meeting without already having a spec document written. And, you know, I haven't broken any ground with this talk, and I didn't get too in-depth on some of these tools, but I hope some piece of it was useful to you. I hope it wasn't horribly boring. I will share this PowerPoint, including links to the services I've shown after the meeting. And I have my email here in case you want to talk to me about other tools and things, because I love tools. They're so fun. And thank you for your time. If you have questions, I will answer them now.
Woo!
Yeah. Thanks, Cassidy.
No one threw up. We all did great. We all survived.
Well,
Great
speak
job.
for yourself.
Cassidy, did I see there was 73 unhappy cats on your Cairo slide?
Oh, cat unhappiness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The cat had an unhappiness of 73, not 73 distinct unhappy cats.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, wow, you are
There was a
collecting
total
cats.
Net cat unhappiness of 70.
Got it. Okay. All right. So it was like a net score. It wasn't a collection of cats.
Pat, would you like me to stop sharing?
I think so. I can't get back to what I want to do. So.
I can't find my. Oh, there.
I
it
will
is.
say, okay, it's gone now. But I will say the fact that step 8 was also an infinite symbol. Very, very well done.
You get it.
Yeah, it did not escape my gaze. Fantastic job. All the way around. Great job. You and all 73 unhappy cats. So first question, and if anybody has any questions in the audience, please feel free to drop them. Pat and I will relay them to Cassidy, and we'll go from there. First question: do you have any journaling preferences? Do you have like a favorite type of paper, favorite type of pen? What are your journaling preferences?
Ooh,
Good one.
that is
Lines or no lines?
I like. I mean, I like fountain pens. I like. I kind of like those like thin tipped markers a lot.
Yeah.
I don't have a particular preference on paper, really.
I was
as long as it's lined.
I was scrambling to find my journal, which I haven't touched in a while. And I'll have to send it on the in one of the general channels or something after. But my wife turned me on to black paper with gel pens. So I use So it looks like a wizard's book. So it's black with like gold and like copper ink. So no lines, but it's that's so I had to get your input on preferences for because it's a very personal thing.
Well, now that you said that, I do feel I've forgotten to mention that I will die for a sparkly pink pen.
There you go. There you go. Pat, do you want to go back and forth on questions? Do you have anything on cue?
Journaling, but or no.
In general.
Although I do appreciate a good journal. So, and yeah, I think the analog non-digital approach to design is definitely recommended as well, and or whiteboarding. But I guess a couple of questions that popped up that are in no particular order is some, I guess, tips at the end of a meeting for follow-ups. So like after you complete the meeting, what to do with that information that's helpful for documentation. I know you offered some suggestions, but I guess like to make sure everybody's on the same page, or I don't know, make sure the information gets out. Any tips on keeping that organized and like coming back to a meeting later to reconnect on things? And that's part one of the question, and I'll stop there, but I do have a second part.
Yeah. I think the decision and action items are a big part of that. I know that if I'm working off of documentation that already exists and I'm updating it, I use decision items to do that. Could you kind of walk back through some of those questions? Because I think I missed some of the nuances.
Yeah. So scenarios. A question of, I guess, capturing, like, tools for capturing things once a decision has been made in the meeting notes. I know you said you try to capture things one time. You have a working design doc somewhere. Like, do those notes get translated there? Do you work with like a producer or somebody else, or like a team person if it's like a takeaway specific action item? If the design idea needs collaboration to complete it, like, I don't know, I guess, what do you do with information that needs collaborative design after a meeting, or just in general?
I mean, collaboration, I often think, well, we need another meeting. But of course, Pat, as you know, it's great to have a task for it, especially if it's going to be meatier. Sure. Which is really cool about action items is if you generate a task from them, for Jira at least, it links the page with the Jira task, which helps. I don't think I have a particular process for further collaboration, except to kind of go back to step one, which is communication, and just start looping people in. And you know what? Sometimes things fall through because there's always a lot to do. But
my part. That's a great answer, and I know I kind of gave like a very general question there, with a lot of potential scenarios at the end of it. My second part of the question is spicier. So what do you do if a meeting is going long, or if a topic gets too big or out of control? Do you have tools for like wrangling in, or is that like the timer is the rule?
The cutoff time is my one coping mechanism. Frankly, I'm not great about wrangling a rowdy meeting, but if I'm feeling it, I will make a task to return to something, to a topic. I will. I thought I heard something.
No, just listening.
Oh, perfect. seeing a question in the chat.
Oh,
now,
yes,
too.
yes.
We can get to that. Yeah.
I can read that out for you when you're. Are you ready to move on to the next question? Are you good?
No, not yet. Not
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Shoot. Could you? Where was I?
Wrangling meetings.
Mhm.
Wrangling meetings. Making one of the outcomes to come back to a topic is my go-to. I can also point at the time and say, hey, we don't have time for this yet. Or we can come back to it later. If it's a rabbit's hole of things that aren't relevant, I will try to cut it off pretty early and say, hey, we can focus on this after we've done X or Y. I don't think I have a rule set for it. I need producer help in that respect.
Fair.
We got a question from Elliot. How many meetings is too many meetings? Or how to keep people working and not in meetings all day? Is there a good pacing not to break team member workflow?
I don't know how much credential I have to answer this. I have my personal opinions, and that's about it. My opinion is that more meetings are good for me, at least as a designer. I know that for engineers and artists, it can get in the way of implementation. I think a standing weekly meeting is for a design on a certain project is generally a good pace.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you, as sort of a piggyback off of that, do you find there is any obstacles when doing sort of coast to coast meetings? Because I know that I'm not sure if Penn still has some California folks, but I know HitPoint had some California folks, and I know from my personal experience, I have a writer who's in Seattle, and then my other writer is in India. So it's there's a very specific time, and that is 11 a.m. that actually works for the three of us.
Right.
So in terms of, like you were saying, working with engineers and artists, is there anything specifically that you try and keep in mind when scheduling meetings?
Two. One, I don't usually schedule meetings. Two, I lied, there are three things. Two, obviously, if in the times that I've had time zone differences, obviously scheduling for a time that works for everyone is an issue. But the third issue there is that when for one team, it's the start of the day, and for another, it's the end of the day, it can lead to mismatched expectations on what's getting done when. Those are the troubles I've had.
Yeah. Basically, when you're meeting with the more easterly people, it's like, well, that's what I'm doing tomorrow. That's not what's happening right now. I was really interested in what you were showing for Airtable. Is it possible to import stuff directly from Excel or Sheets, or is it that's convenient? I like that a lot.
Yes, I think you need to make a CSV first, but yeah, you can import things easy.
Okay, that's not too bad. Is there a table size? Because it looked like it had visualized like data sets.
Table size?
Yeah. So, again, personal experience. I have a list of about 350 names. So I didn't know if there was like a maximum that.
I think there is, but I'm not sure what it is. It depends on whether you're on a free plan or a paid plan as well.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to try Airtable on a paid plan, but I've never had the opportunity. But there's so much you can do without.
Hint, hint, Paul and Pat. Let's see here. Here's another one I got. How do you keep away from the dreaded dusted document? Like something that, ends up not getting looked at for, say, 6 months, and then it just gets so much dust that you never look at it again. Do you have any Yeah. Is that a thing
When
that
find
you
out, let me know.
Right, right. I think it's the same thing everybody else is having trouble with. So
Yeah. The things I do try are again to make things as scannable as possible. And to make it pretty. that's what I try. Notion rings a bell. What is Notion?
I was trying to find a comparison. It's like Keep Note in a way, I think. Just like another way to like keep ideas organized.
it also looks like an internal team wiki kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Looks cool. I haven't heard of it. Thank you for letting me know.
I know Steve Ford uses that a lot and has good work. I don't know if you've checked out Workflowy, which is another a more simplistic organization tool, which is just use bullets, but nested bullets. You can kind of keep going into your bullets and hiding the root or parent bullets. But if you're someone who likes bullet points, like me, it's a great.
It might be violating Cassidy's "make it pretty" rule.
No. It's clean. So I don't know if that works or falls into.
Pretty doesn't actually have to be ornamental. It can just.
I love Damask, so I disagree. 100%.
I see. It's listed as an alternate to OneNote and Google Docs.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does. The thing I had a problem with Notion, and it's more just like I didn't want to add on something else that didn't work, and with a lot of the other tools that I use for work is it's kind of like it does everything, but I had a hard time like feeling like it was doing anything well, and it didn't integrate like with Google Docs, at least at the time when I tried it. I don't know, it's been a couple of years, but it didn't integrate with my other tools that I was using for work. And so I had a hard time with Notion just because of that. But in terms of, I could see the potential in it. So.
I see. One of the things I like about Airtable, not to beat a dead horse, is that it can integrate with all kinds of things, especially if you have something like a, oh shoot, I forget. It's not if this, then that. It's something else. But like an automation client.
Mm-hmm.
So just a note.
There was a question from Elliot that says, as a designer, do you find Google Sheets useful?
Yes, very. I use it often. I have something called, I have a document just called Scratch, and I do a lot of things in there. I see that we just dropped the call.
Not for me. I can still hear you.
Sometimes it just it freezes in Twitch if you're looking at the stream, and you just have to refresh your page.
Oh, okay. Hi guys, I'm back. I use it when I need to do math things mostly. I really like getting into the filtering and all the different things it can do, but it can be a bit of a time sink for me. I've actually been reprimanded during my student work for spending a little too much time in Google Sheets.
At one point, do you upgrade from Google Sheet to one of the other programs that you end up doing? For me, I just end up living in Google Sheets for almost anything.
It's pretty easy to live in.
Yeah. So roomy.
If I have something where, in particular, if I have something where I would like a drop down, but I want to be able to add multiple items, that's the moment where I'm like, oh, I should be doing this in Airtable.
Excellent. Do you have so back to Aaron's like dusty document, do you have anything that's like in your own personal backlog of design ideas that you like, full game ideas? Do you have any projects you're working on for yourself? And then I have a part 2 to that question as well, but I'll start with that.
Okay. I'm not currently working on anything actively. I do have a whole bunch of game design documents, just especially from my student work, but I'm pretty proud of all of them, and would love to go back over them. There's lots of ideas I would like to give some love to.
Yes. Part 2 then. Why aren't you?
Oh man, time, I suppose, energy. I suppose I should do that.
You prefer digital or physical when you're making your own types of games?
Yeah.
Oh, like tabletop versus video?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I think I prefer video. Yeah.
Do you have a genre that you prefer?
Sure.
RPG.
That was always my favorite.
Is pretty a genre?
Absolutely.
Oh,
That was my always favorite thing to hear from Alex Trebek when he was still around, because he's as like a Quebecois. You never hear his accent until he says genre.
And simulation's fun. Although I think people tend to have different ideas of what that actually means.
What's it mean to you? Or what type of simulation games genre do you like?
What? That was 2 questions.
I know. What yes. What does simulation mean to you?
Simulation means digitally representing a certain role or concept to, it doesn't have to be to a realistic extent or to its fullest extent, but if the main point of the game is to sort of in a sandbox take on a role. I'm thinking of games like Pressure Washing Simulator or Surgeon Simulator. I'm thinking of games where it's sort of a sandbox and the idea is to do one simple role, but there could be depth to it, depending on how deep you go.
Power Wash Simulator is what a fascinating the fact that sold so well is a little bit mind-boggling to me. Just got to figure out the next simulation.
I think people can also take simulation to mean, shoot, it feels like any game could be called a simulation under certain, every game is a simulation under certain definitions.
Yeah.
But
I guess maybe the line is drawn if it's the focus of the game rather than the mechanics behind the game. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you distinguish it between immersive simulators and like just simulators, I really like non-immersive simulations. Silly ones.
Do you have any of those in your backlog of game design ideas?
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
It's called Adult Simulator.
Ooh.
You just spend the whole time like burning your hand on the stove, or like what's the?
No, you play as 2 children in a trench coat.
Oh, nice. Only 2 children?
3 would have been a bit dicey.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of teetering that you're doing with 3 children would be a lot.
Maybe that's an extra game mode.
Yeah. That's a solid one from.
Yeah.
That's an age-old joke, but it just brings me back to BoJack on that one, I think.
Of course. I have a slide for references, and of course BoJack is on there.
That BoJack reference has to be in there for Adult Simulator. That's a good one.
Do you have any other questions from from the users, from the Twitch chat. And while you guys think of your questions, I'll ask one last question for myself, for you, Cassidy, which is, do you have any suggestions for game designers in terms of getting work or how to get into the industry, I should say? Like any takeaways or do this thing, if anything else.
All my successes have been from jumping on openings that were very fresh immediately. And I've been quite lucky because I don't really have a proper portfolio, and I've still managed to get some work. So I don't know if I'm a great case study.
No, that's good. I mean, just jumping on stuff. How do you jump on positions that are just announced? Is it being in Indeed.com or seeing where do you subscribe? How do you find new positions and openings?
Indeed, and also LinkedIn. I've heard you can. I think there are some other ones that I haven't checked out recently, but learned of. There's some specific to game design, not game design, but game development.
There's one called Work with Indies. It's a decent
Work with
one.
Indies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I should bookmark that.
They also have a Discord, which is quite nice, but their website is specifically driven for if someone does want to work with indies.
But definitely, game design openings are very slim.
Yeah, no, it seems like a hard position to, I don't know, a much sought after position for many people. And a hard position to get. So
Pester people and keep your eyes open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and have a very good resume. I think my resume is pretty good.
Make it pretty.
Make it pretty. My resume is pretty.
I do want to throw this out here while we're wrapping things up. This Friday, if anybody's on the Slack, is our mostly bi-weekly coffee hour on Friday morning. Cassidy, please join us as well. It has promised to be eventful in the past, and get in your network or your more pure game design talk. Come and join us. And also, usually Wednesdays and Fridays, again, come and join us in the Slack. If you are not already on the Slack and would like to be, feel free to message myself. I am Real Semi-Myth on this chat, or you can message Pat at Another Castle Dev, and we can invite you if you pass the password test, and we will get you in there. We have dev lunches every Wednesday and Friday. Please come and join us. And we have events just like this with the wonderful Cassidy. First Sunday of every month, and we will probably be doing the game jam in January, I'm assuming. A little bit of distance, potentially.
Spoilers. Yep. Details to come. I thought I would have some more details for this call, but they're still hashing them out. Right now, trying to get the next step on Global Game Jam, which is end of January, would be to register our site. And so somebody is working on that right now. As details come out, we'll share them. But it is on for this year.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then Cassidy can make the prototype. Someone can help Cassidy make Adult Simulator, and y'all can go on to make millions of dollars.
Gosh, I hope so.
All the dollars.
All the adult that two children in a trench coat can make.
Cassidy, thanks so much. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
everybody else for also joining us tonight. Always a pleasure. Thank you, Aaron, for all of your awesome organizational and good-spirited fun. So,
Woo-hoo.
yeah.
Have a good night.
Thanks,
Yeah, you
everybody.
too.
Thank you again, Cassidy. Thank you again, Pat.
Bye. Thank you again,
Bye.
Aaron. See y'all. So long. Dun, 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 dun. I gotta figure out how to turn off the stream. I'm doing it now. Bye.